So let's try this again. Let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. Every time I've tried to make this video, I got interrupted. I mean, like, what the fuck? But anyway, let's have a little chat. The first thing I want to say is this. People need to stay in their own lane. Because when you stay in your own lane, sometimes you live a lot longer. You need to stay in your own lane and deal with your own individual personal demons and issues and problems and leave other people the fuck alone. And that's all I got to say on that note. Now, this is what I really wanted to get into. I was thinking about something last night. I'm going to be talking about a multitude of things just to let you know. I was thinking about something last night, and I am grateful for my spiritual gift to be humble to self, not humble to other people, but humble to myself, humble to my own um, flaws, humble to be open enough and say that I have had problems that I had to overcome. See, we're going to have problems in our physical existence, but the victory is overcoming them. The spiritual part of that is overcoming them because spirit is what gets you over that, or spell work, or whatever you want to call it. Anything that's tied to the spirit is what helps you to move beyond your physical and your human um, flaws. It is okay to say that someone hurt you. There is no shame in saying, you know what, I liked that person and they hurt me. Their actions hurt me, whether they realize it or not. Because sometimes the people that hurt us, not in all cases, sometimes the people that hurt us, either they don't know or they don't care. And that's okay. That's okay. Because your healing should not be predicated upon them because they can't heal you. The people that hurt you, they can't heal you. The only person that can heal you is you by whatever road or source that you take to healing, whether it be going to somebody for spiritual guidance and spell work. It doesn't matter. Whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to do, that is what will heal you. That other person that hurt you, they can't heal you, and nor should you give them the power to heal you. When I was talking in my last video about how certain individuals hurt me, or I felt hurt and disappointed by those individuals, that's okay. I can feel that way. Or it was okay for me to feel that way at that time because I'm not the same person that I was 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not the same person. So it is okay to be assertive in your spiritual work. It is okay to acknowledge that someone hurt you. It is okay to understand that hurt. It is okay to address it. There's a lot of talk about what happened with Billy Miller, the actor. He played Jason and Drew on General Hospital, and he played Billy Abbott on The Young and the Restless. And as I mentioned in my last video, he passed away recently. And his mother basically confirmed that he committed, you know what I'm talking about. You can't really say that word anymore here on YouTube, but he committed, unaliving himself. And she said that he had suffered with bipolar depression for many, many, many years. And he did everything in his power to, I guess, to conquer that demon, but that's exactly what it was. That's a demon. That's a demon. That is a deep-rooted demon that, a lot of people, deal with. And some people take different routes to deal with it. I'm not here to give any advice on how to deal with it, because when you say certain things on YouTube, YouTube will flag you and say that you're giving medical advice. So I'm staying away from that. But I will say this much. I will say this much. It's not all chemical. It's not all chemical. A lot of those problems are spiritual in nature for some people. I'm going to say it that way. But a lot of those problems are spiritual in nature. When I was in my early 20s, even prior to my early 20s, I had a lot of issues with depression. I had a lot of issues with feeling depressed and depression. And that was because I created a tulpa of unhappiness. And I did it in the unconscious. See, a lot of this stuff is unconscious. I did it unconsciously. And I did it. What really caused it to create itself in my unconscious was when my grandmother died suddenly in 1987 of a massive heart attack. And, I was very close with her. If she had lived, she probably would have been 81, had she lived. If she had lived today, she'd be 81 years old. And I was only 8 when that happened. I was only 8 when it happened. And it left a hole in me. And being a child, I didn't understand, you know, the things that I understand now. Because, adults, they don't really explain, our families. Most of us were raised as, in that Christian church. Ugh, ugh, just the thought of it. Yeah. I was raised Methodist. And there was no real support system with that. And then they tell us to rely on a God who was not a good deity. They would tell us to pray and to worship a deity within that religion, which was not a good deity, that did not like the people that was praying to it. And then to come to find out that this deity has been exposed as being a negative entity from the Orion star system. Yeah. Yahweh, Jehovah, Yaldabaoth, and all those other names. Child, please. So, in my mind, it felt like my world had ended. So I created my own demon in my own mind of hopelessness, depression, and all of these negative emotions that attaches itself to us and follows us throughout our lifetimes. When people are compromised as children, whether it be sexually, physically, you know, that gives whatever demons that are already present, it gives it more feeding tools to feed off of you. Because then after my grandmother died, my family started acting really strange towards me. They started acting really funny. They started switching up, even though they won't admit to that, but they did. And that's because they were dealing with their own demons. See, a lot of the people that cause us or hurts us, we're not dealing with that person. We're dealing with the demon of that person. We're dealing with a demon. You understand what I'm saying? And it's created in the unconscious for some people. So for Billy Miller, I can see that there was an unconscious demon that was created for him a long time ago. It's the same thing with my friend Christopher Barry. He had a lot of demons, you know? And one thing he used to tell me was my voice would calm him. He would have to call me sometimes and just talk to me, for a couple of minutes. He said, I just had to hear your voice because, you keep me calm. Your voice, it just keeps me calm. So I was able to calm some of his demons, but that's because we had a spiritual connection, you know? The point that I'm making is this. We hear everybody talking about shifts and all of that stuff. I remember back in 2012, everyone was talking about the shift that was supposed to take place where the world was going to end. First, they said it was going to happen in the year 2000 with Y2K. I remember New Year's Eve, 1999, everybody was waiting for the most horrible thing to happen. Nothing happened. Nothing physically happened. But what they were really preparing us for was 9/11. They were preparing us for 9/11 in 1999. And I heard somebody on their video talk about that song that Prince came out with called 1999. And he was really, I guess, symbolically referring to what was going to happen in 2001. So what people were looking for in 2000 actually happened in 1999. I'm sorry, what everyone was looking for in 2000 actually happened in 2001 towards the end of harvest in September. Interesting, right? So going back to 2012, and let me touch on 2001 again, 9/11. All of that, all of that was a ritual, and everybody should know that by now. I didn't know it then. Well, I did know it then. I did know it then. Yes, I did. I didn't know as much as I know now because my eyes are open now, but I didn't know as much because I was only 21 when that happened. But I knew that the world would never be the same. And if people really want to be technical, and I've mentioned this before, 9/11 is what really changed the United States for the worse. The United States has not been the same since 9/11, not spiritually, not physically, or anything. We all know that the United States has its flaws. But after 9/11, the country went down I mean, not a bankrupt, but the country became bankrupt even more morally and spiritually after 9/11. It was a very scary, uncertain time. It was a very scary, uncertain time. And then right after that, we go into Afghanistan. And then right after that, we went into Iraq. It was all orchestrated. I mean, not orchestrated, but it was all designed and by design. Remember what I said, to destroy happiness and joy, the gay agenda, but we're not going back to that. So, going back to 2012, everyone was so afraid of 2012. Everyone kept talking about how 2012 was going to be the end of the world, right? Everyone kept talking about that 2012 was going to be the end. And most people viewed the end as global catastrophic events like earthquakes, volcanoes, and floods and stuff like that. And those, and and destructive weather patterns in general. And those things did happen to some degree, unfortunately. They even had movies that came out like 2012, that came out in 2009, that depicted catastrophic global events that destroyed civilization. And you've heard various gurus and spiritual people always talking about 2012 was going to be a shift. There was a shift that was going to take place within the earth. Here we are 11 years later, and a lot of people are still waiting for that shift. And then they will say, oh no, it didn't happen in 2012. It's going to happen in 2025. Now, that's the saying now. But here's my question, and it's really not a question. It was something that was revealed to me. Excuse me, I belched. The shift did happen. It did happen. But we were distracted by the Hollywood effect. We were distracted by the Antichrist effect. And when I say Antichrist, I'm not talking about the Bible or the biblical version or the Christian version of that energy. I'm talking about what it really is, which is taking you away from your spirituality, distracting you from your own spirit, distracting you from your own Christ consciousness. And I'm not talking about the Bible and Christianity. I'm talking about distracting you from whatever it is that you do on a spiritual level. Because remember, in American Horror Story, on a side note, remember in American Horror Story season 8, the Antichrist wanted to kill all of the witches because the witches are the ones that brought in the wisdom. They were the wise ones. And I've been going back looking at different episodes of American Horror Story, and I might touch on that in another video to break down some of the spiritual symbology and stuff like that. But in season 8, remember Michael Langdon, the Antichrist, he wanted to kill all of the witches. So he started the apocalypse. So he could destroy all of the witches in the world because the witches could bring wisdom. They brought enlightenment to the world. They were the true light bearers. And he was intimidated by the witches because they were more powerful than him. So when I say that we've been distracted by the beast, the Antichrist, I'm talking about the beast of social media, the Antichrist of social media, the Antichrist of false news and fake news. We've been tricked into taking the focus off of us and our wisdom and our own personal witchcraft or whatever it is that you do. Because in actuality, 2012 was all about you. But we were so busy paying attention to the earth, but we were not paying attention to spirit. They distracted us with Trayvon Martin. They distracted us with other black men being murdered in by white police officers. They distracted us with racism and all types of depravity. And all of those distractions got a response, especially out of black people. They especially love distracting black people and keeping us off of our spiritual journey. And this is no disrespect to any other races of people, because at the end of the day, it's a collective effort of not just white people, but there are black people who've crossed over to the dark side too, who want to keep people trapped in a certain lower frequency of fear, of survival, but never flourishing, never paradise, never abundance, but fear, sadness, survival, hopelessness. And then to try to shut down love, hope. And I don't mean fake hope, flourishing, spiritual evolution. So when we really think about it, maybe a shift did happen in 2012, but a lot of us missed it because we were too busy paying attention to somebody else. We were too busy mourning and crying and being in total emotional destitute because of what was happening around us. But when you when you understand quantum mechanics and when you understand the quantum realm, they tell you in anything that you study within the realm of the quantum that what's happening around you physically is an illusion. That is why they say that if you're trying to change your reality, when you study any type of, let's just say for layman purposes, when you study any type of scientific information, when they talk to you about the quantum realm, which is the realm of the spirit, but scientists have to say it in their own scientific way. The quantum realm is the realm of the spirit. That's the realm of spirituality. That's the realm where anything is possible. When you study that, when you study that, it will tell you that the material world is an illusion and you should not be wrapped up into what happens within the material world because it is an illusion and you may not see everything that's taking place in your plight to create your own reality. Or you may not see everything that's taking place in the plight of reality shifting for the better. So everything that's been going on subsequently for the past decade, or a little over a decade, is really indicative of the shift that they kept telling us that was going to happen. But it did not happen like we were shown. It's happening on an individual spiritual basis. And even though it may have started in 2012, let's just say for layman's terms, it may have started for everyone else at another time. For me, it started in 2016 on into 2017 up until now. That is when I noticed that there was something going on. And that is why I always have so much respect and admiration for my friend Christopher, because he was the one that came into my life and he was the one that showed me that I was going through a shift. Coming in contact with him let me know that I was going through a major shift spiritually. Then when he died, that even confirmed it even more. Because going through shifts spiritually is not an easy process. And there are going to be things that happen within that process that may not be easy, because change is not easy. It's not easy. So I started my shift in 2016. 2017, it really ramped up. 2017, I was dealing with a lot of grief and a lot of depression. I got sick in 2017 physically. I'm not going to talk about it, but I got sick. Wasn't anything major, but I found out I was sick. But I'm better now. I'm better now. It was something that could be corrected. Wasn't anything major. But I was because I was grieving. I was grieving in 2017. And see, the thing is that Christopher's death, that was that put me at a precipice. And it wasn't just his death. Everything that I had been through in my life had come to a head. It had come to a crossroad. All of the pain, all of the betrayal, and all of the abuse and hurt that I had been through at the hands of people in my life, my family, fake phony friends. I noticed that people around that time that I was close with as family friends, they started turning on me. You know what I mean? It was a mess. And now when I look back on it, that was part of the spiritual evolution. That was part of my shift. And I understand that now. I understood it then, but I understand it even more now. It's an individual thing. So just because they said the shift was going to happen in 2012, it does not mean that it happened for everyone in 2012. The shift that they were talking about was an individual spiritual shift that multiple people were going to go through. And I have news for you: everyone does not go through the shift, because everyone is not built the same way. And the people that did not go through the shift, they are stuck. And the people that you find that are stuck are the ones who are troublemaking, miserable, immersed in negativity, judgmental, religious, not willing to look at themselves, but always pointing out at the rest of the world. These people are stuck. Those are the ones who did not experience the shift. They didn't experience it. They did not experience the spiritual shift or the spiritual evolution. They didn't experience that because they're just not part of it. So it's not for everyone. It's not a good thing that it didn't happen. It's not a bad thing. It's a frequency thing. It's an energy thing. So there you have it. They were right about 2012. They were right, but they were wrong as well. Well, they were wrong as well. Or no, they were right. Our interpretation was wrong based upon what was presented to us because we were presented with things that were not true. So 2012, 2023, we are now experiencing everything because it's not just 1 year. It happens continuously for a certain amount of time, this so-called shift. And it's been going on since 2012. Shifts happen all the time, but this one was a major one, and that's what they were talking about. So it's no wonder that certain people are so called going crazy and people are off balance and the planet is off balance because this is all necessary to correct the imbalance that's on the planet. It's all necessary. So for the past 11 years, we have all been going through an individual shift. Some of us began to realize it sooner than others. See, when I was in my early 30s, I wasn't really paying attention to that. But what really made me understand what was happening, it took me losing someone or someone transitioning. And I've always said that when you're going through grief, and I know a lot of people may not understand this, but when you're going through grief, that is one of the most, how can I put it? When you're going through grief, spirits talk to you a lot during that time because you're more open and you can get a lot of spiritual information because I did. So I know this to be true. At least it was for me. I can't speak for anyone else. You remember, I'm going through my own individual experience. And what I go through is not the same thing you may go through on your shift, your spiritual shift. And then we got into 2021 and we saw everything that was happening in 2020 and 2021. That was just an extension. 2021 was an extension of what they said was going to happen in 2012. See, a lot of people are mad at Donald Trump. A lot of people are mad at Trump and everything that's happening. But at the end of the day, these things that are happening, they're necessary. They're necessary for our spiritual growth. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but difficult change brings wonderful results sometimes. So everything that happened, Trump was the, how can I put it? He was an important figure in the spiritual evolution of the planet, I should say, because he was a difficult, challenging figure for a lot of people. And we had never really had that in modern history for a long time. And he ignited something in people. And when you get ignited, then a lot of times you don't have anything to rely on but spirit. And that's what the shift is all about, getting people to refocus on their spirit, which is the quantum and not the atomic world. See, this is the atomic world. We have been living in an atomic existence, subatomic, really, which subatomic deals with the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And the, what do they call it? It's the atomic, subatomic, and I'm going to say the unconscious. The unconscious deals strictly with raw, dark spiritual stuff. And when I say dark, I don't mean negative or sinister per se. That's not what I'm talking about. It's all in how you interpret it. Because remember, you're an individual and you can interpret things how you want. You don't have to go by what I say. See, people that are looking for people to listen to them and go by their path, those people are nutty and they're cult-like mentality. I'm not looking for a cult. Not looking for that. Although I don't walk alone. You feel what I'm saying? I don't walk alone. So they were right about 2012. There's been a major spiritual shift that's been taking place since 2012, but people picked up on it at different times. And it really had nothing to do with the world ending. It had more so to do with the end of different aspects of you. Because what's interesting is around that time, I was having what the fuck? People acting crazy outside here. Around that time, I was having some really strange, dreams. Some really strange dreams and experiences. And I didn't say anything for a long time. I want to say between 2011 and 2014, I was having some really strange, crazy dreams. And that is really what triggered me or what motivated me to contact Brother Panic because at that time, he seemed to be someone that was genuine and authentic, from what I saw and from what I heard that I could go to, you know, and that is what motivated me to go to him. And I'm appreciative of the information that he gave me in that consultation that I did with him a long time ago. No matter how I may feel now, but I'm appreciative of that information because he was telling me what was happening is I was beginning to have penile activity. And that's what 2012 was really all about when they kept saying a spiritual shift. People's penile glands were starting to come online. So it's no surprise that after that time, they started throwing out all of these distractions, um, diseases, racism, all of these social issues that they started throwing at us, which blinded us from our spiritual evolution. Anyway, I can't really talk the way that I want to right now. Let me end this video and I may come back with another one. Thank you.